All right, hello everybody. We should be live now. Uh, Make sure that you can hear me. Hopefully, it should all be good. Steve, that's more than fine that you can't stay. Just thank you for showing up. Is my head cut off? I have a feeling that my head might be cut off. Yep, my head's slightly cut off. Let me adjust that. A little bit more. That should do it. How's everything looking? Can you hear and see me okay? Yep, was cut off. I think I should be good now. I've got it pulled up on my laptop screen here in front of me, and hopefully that looks good. My scrawny arms are looking great in the camera. Hey, Chani Tubes, I see your comment and it's being held for review. If you don't like the channel, simply just, you don't have to watch my videos. You don't have to subscribe to them. So, take care. Have a good day. All right. I'm just going to go through and say hello to everybody who's here. So, Trainstorm, Pierre Marquette Productions, 2003 Marauder, Stephen Colfrell, Bob, hello, Bob, Rhythm Scout, and Train Lover 66, and New York Rail Fanning just joined. And how my trip worked out, that ended up stinking, but thankfully, I'll have the opportunity to be able to do that trip many more times in the future. So, minor setback for a major comeback. And if you don't know what Train Lover 66 is talking about, I was supposed to do a trip from New York to Seattle on Amtrak, but got stranded in Chicago. I've uploaded a 3-part video series about that trip in its detail, and you guys can see how it went for me from a first person perspective as I was going along. So make sure to go check that out. So how's everybody doing today? I see we got 16 people joining. If you wouldn't mind, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps get the YouTube algorithm going so we can get more people. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to ask. And I figured once we get some more people into the live stream, I'll run some trains. Currently on the outer loop right behind me, I have a brand new engine which I picked up on vacation, which is just off screen. So a few people know about it, but it's just off screen, so we'll see that a little bit later. And some freight cars that I picked up while I was in Tennessee, Georgia, Michigan, the whole 9 yards. So that's on the outer loop. And on the inner loop, I've been spending a lot of time in NS territory the last week and a half. So I've got an NS freight train on the inner loop, but I also have the S motor, which was in the thumbnail, and the Legacy 10-wheeler, which was a big hit a couple of weeks ago, ready to go for service. Hey, Romans West Coast Trains. Train Lover 66, are you going to see 611 this year? I currently have 2 days planned to go see 611 in July, and I'm probably going to go back up in September to see 611 again. I'm really excited. I haven't seen 611 in person before, so I'm really looking forward to it. I also have tickets to go into the cab and pull the whistle, which is a lifelong childhood, fantasy of mine, is pulling the whistle on a steam locomotive. So I'm really excited for that. And the only problem is that once I see 611 in person and climb into her cab, I'm going to want a model of it, and there's no cheap models of 611 in existence. Also, I want a Lionel version because back in the 90s, she triple-headed with 4501, which you could see the new sign behind me, new 4501 sign, and 1218, the Class A. So I want to be able to recreate that triple header. Hello, Richard Golden. Hello, Matt's Trains and Tractors. Thanks for joining in. Devon McKenzie. Thanks, Matt. Let's go Mets. First place baseball team. Top 10 baseball team in Major League Baseball, in my opinion. Anyways, how's everybody doing tonight? Now, while I was in, hello, David Stevens. While I was in Tennessee visiting my girlfriend, I picked up a whole bunch of new signs for the layout. I'm still debating whether or not to do a layout update video on those, just because it's really not that much. Nothing's really changed about the layout itself. Just a few more signs hanging around, but I'll point them out as you see them tonight. As I mentioned earlier, 4501, that sign behind me, I visited the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum when I was down in Tennessee. Got to see 4501 in person, so I had to pick up the sign. And there's a non-railroad relating sign, but the Paradox Brewery sign behind me, and that's a brewery in upstate New York. And I'm family's close friends with the owner. Hello, Train Man Dan. Bob says my favorite of your signs is just behind you, or the Penn Central. Oh yeah, I love my Penn Central patch. I picked that up in a antique store here on Long Island, actually. Kind of surprising. Yes, I had to climb up on the table to get the 4501 up. The Paradox Brewery sign behind me too. Actually, it's on that side. Um, what else? I also had to. There's a new Louisville and Nashville railroad sign. Had to do table climbing for that. Oh, to the right of Penn Central. Yeah, that is the American Freedom Train logo. Patch, whole 9 yards. That was set up by Ross. Thank you everybody for tuning in today. 18 viewers. Figured I'd give it a few more minutes. I've been going for about 7 minutes now. Let anybody else trickle into the stream, and then we'll get the trains running. If there's a particular train that you want to see, just let me know in the chat. Yeah. I have I'll give a hint as to what the new engine is that I have set up just to my left here. It is a post-war engine that's going to be running around the layout. So that's going to be interesting. And as I said earlier, I have NS running on the inner loop here tonight. And sorry I'm looking down. It's just because I'm looking at my computer screen to see what you guys are saying. But how's everybody doing tonight? So this, Bob asks, what the cream-colored reefer is behind me. I'll pick it up here. So this is a Lionel MPC era car. And it's for ball glass mason jars, and it's actually factory weathered, which is pretty interesting. Typically, I don't buy too much MPC era stuff. It was built in 1981 by Lionel, but ball mason jars, although they're made in Indiana, are huge in the South. So when my girlfriend saw this in the store at the antique store that we were at, she told me I had to get it. So I'm not gonna turn down when my girlfriend tells me to get a train, so I picked it up. Actually, for a pretty good deal too. Paid less than what it goes for on eBay, so I considered that a win. Now the challenge is just coupling it up. Alright, we'll figure that out later. Well, thanks for stopping in, John. I don't do too many live streams all that often, just because I was going to school in DC, so I kind of felt bad doing a live stream without having the layout to run trains behind me. And moving back to DC next week, actually. So live streams are going to be few and far in between, but I just wanted to do this one because the last one I did, which was a couple of weeks ago, went really successful. Got a lot of super chats, which were extremely appreciated. and it helps with the train budget and the whole 9 yards. Yeah, the heat was something today here in the Northeast. I was outside doing yard work all day, and it was terrible, mighty hot. It was mighty hot here on Long Island today. Yep, the giraffe car. This is one I've been wanting for a while now. A Lionel post-war car with the giraffe's head pops up for the Bronx Zoo. So really cool car. I don't have the contraption set up, so the head goes up and down automatically, but nonetheless, it's a post-war piece that I've wanted. And I have probably about a dozen post-war freight cars and 2 locomotives right now. There are only a handful of post-war items that I really want to still add to my collection, and that is a work caboose to go with my crane car and the original Lionel post-war Santa Fe F3 passenger set, because that's the set that first made me fall in love with trains. I wish they had more train shops in the Houston area. Most of my trains come from eBay and Amazon. Listen, I hear you. Here on Long Island, just a few years ago, we had probably close to a dozen train shops, and now we're down to just two, and one of them's Train World. So, I mean, it's really cool going in there. And the other one, he's pretty much selling off the entirety of his model railroading stock, Nassau Hobbies. So if you go to their website, they have really good deals. But it looks like he's selling off the entirety of his inventory, and he's just going to pre-ordering. So, hello, Richard Bailey. But I mean, I visited my girlfriend she lives just north of Chattanooga, and the closest train store to her is Legacy Station, which is almost a 3-hour drive away, which, I mean, that's insane. Anthony Straight, my closest train shop is an hour away. We need more real train stores. My closest shop is 40 minutes away, and that's Trainland. Bob, Charlie Nassau selling off his inventory. I mean, I don't know that for a fact. I just know that every time I go into the store, there's a lot less new product, and there's just a lot less train products altogether. He still has a really good in-store selection of freight cars, but he has almost no locomotives left in stock. I think especially for locomotives, he's doing strictly pre-ordering. He has no brand new Legacy or PS3 locomotives in his shop, which is really a shame. Um, but I've talked about this in previous videos, but the problem is with these bigger stores like Charles Row and Train World, is that they're able to afford the products they're able to buy the products from Lionel at a price much less than the local mom and pop hobby store, because they buy it in such bulk quantities, and it's not enough for these mom and pop shops to compete. Trainman Dan, how big is your layout and what's your biggest curve radius? So I guesstimate my layout is about 12 by 8 feet. Um, the last 4 by 8 sheet of plywood was cut pretty much in half, so more like 8 by 10 feet. Um, and the largest radius curve is 048 on my outer loop. But I'm going to have to do it something because I'm getting the new Lionel Legacy Acela, and it requires 072 curves, so I have to figure that out. Roman's West Coast Trains tried getting Nassau's Commodore Vanderbilt, but someone swiped it. Man, I'm sorry about that. I love the Lionel Commodore Vanderbilts. I know they're technically semi-scale, but I hope they come out with them again in the near future. I mean, they have to have the tooling sitting around somewhere. Those are really cool engines, and it's a shame that hasn't really been made in true O scale. I've heard good things about Just Trains. Thank you, Devon McKenzie. South Texas. Well, hello from Long Island. Hello, Brendan's Trains. Johnny, hope you're doing well. Anthony's Trains. What would you do to the hobby to get more people in more young people in the hobby? Would you add any feature, make anything? The the problem is with model railroading is just the cost. I mean, even the cheapest Lionel ready to run set, which is like $200. So a family's gonna pay $200, and the train's gonna run around in circles and make noise and blow smoke. And probably most parents hate the smoke because of the way it smells, even with the nice scents. It's that initial cost of getting people in the hobby, which is the biggest factor. I mean, I see no problem with when I go to a like a museum gift shop, parents don't mind forking over $40 for a crappy, you know, um, battery powered train set, but they could get something quality for $200, but they don't do it because they know the kid's not going to care about it in so many years or even so many days. Meanwhile, they could get a video game system, and although you have to pay $60, $70 to get a new game, there's always something new to do. And I mean, for $60, $70 in O scale, you get a new freight car. It's not a new experience. Lionel has done a great job with bringing down the initial cost of getting into the hobby, but I don't think it matters how many features they add. The Lion Chief remote is a great start, but you know, is a parent now going to buy a Polar Express set because the kid can make an announcement through the train car? I don't think so. I don't know what that adds. Um, I'm also just very pessimistic when it comes to these kinds of things, but the way to get kids into the hobby is to get them into trains from a very early age and not into modeling. I mean, I didn't fall in love with trains because of modeling. I fell in love with trains because of Thomas the Tank Engine television series, and that's gone now. So you have to figure out some other way to get kids invested in trains, and then once they develop that interest behind, just wow, there goes a choo choo, and then getting them into the hobby set. Yeah, a legacy Commodore Vanderbilt would be awesome. I mean, we saw Lionel bring back the semi-scale K4 in their last catalog, which the last time they cataloged that was the early 2000s. So there is a precedent. I'd also like to see them bring back the C&O Yellow Bellies, number 490. My local train shop closed in 2015, and I switched to another store that had a huge selection of Lionel and MTH. But now the store has little stock, and they just do pre-orders. And I mean, I don't blame the stores for doing just pre-orders because the way how the market is changing is that the manufacturers are just doing pre-orders. I mean, every locomotive that Lionel has put into their last few catalogs has been built to order. So hobby stores are only ordering the amount that they get orders for. I mean, the bigger stores like Charles Royal and Train World, they can afford to order a few extra trains to have them laying around for a period of time. But, you know, mom and pop on the corner of Main Street and 17th Street, they can't afford to order, a dozen extra engines to have them sitting around and hopefully someone comes in and buys one of them. And now with the way that MTH is operating, it's all built to order. So it doesn't make sense for the hobby stores, especially the smaller ones, to do anything other than just pre-orders. I'd like Lionel to make a Legacy Climax or a Great Northern R2. I'm not exactly sure what an R2 is, so Johnny says, personally, I think starter sets don't have the play value to keep people interested. At least a crappy $40 train set that gives you cardboard buildings and plastic trees, Lionel doesn't have play value, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. Train Man Dan, I'd imagine history people take some sort of interest in trains. I mean, that's how I started. I was fascinated with history, and with history comes trains. Bob, now we are talking. I've been begging for a C&O Yellow Belly. B&O has one. Yep, I saw that at the B&O Railroad Museum a bunch of times. One of my favorite pieces that they have in their collection there. Third Rail is doing a run of a scale Yellow Belly, brass Yellow Belly, except it's for an asinine price, which I wouldn't pay. But I would pay for a legacy one with whistle steam and the whole 9 yards. Hey, Sam's O Gauge Trains, thanks for stopping in. Um, and this brings up a great point, bringing up Bob's comment and Sam's comment back to back. We just released part one of our podcast with Bob. For those of you who may not know, Bob was a fireman on CNO 614, which ran from Hoboken up to Port Jervis 20 or so years ago, as well as having a huge MTH collection. So part one, where we talk about him running 614, is up on the Model Train Talk podcast channel, so go check that out. And leave a like, subscribe if you aren't already. I know that means a lot to Sam and myself. All right, what is my favorite steam locomotive? G5, Pennsylvania Railroad G5, just because that was the backbone of the Long Island Railroad's passenger services up until 1955. I always love a G5. Favorite one I have in my collection? Well, I only have 2 steam locomotives in my collection, so I'm going to have to go with my MTH Rail King Long Island K4. Thanks for stopping in, North Country Trains. You spy a Vermont Railway car on my layout. Well, yes, you do. I picked this up while I was in Tennessee as well. I was actually at an antique store in Georgia. It's an Atlas O Masterline steam era boxcar, 40-foot boxcar, but the rebuild date was on the boxcar itself. It's painted 1963, which would make it after the steam era. So I'm not really sure what to run it with, but for now I've got it hooked up to a post-war train with a whole bunch of new freight cars I picked up on my trip. And I think going forward it's going to look really good behind my New York Central 10-wheeler. Yes, UP3982 Trainmaster Challenger, there is your shout out. You have one heck of a YouTube name. Sam, you spoiled it. You told them what I already said. It was a post-war. Now you said it was an NW2. That gives them 2 possibilities what engine it could be. Now, if anybody knows baseball and they know the Mets, they know that they could probably guess which it is. Do I have a Berkshire? No, I do not. I've really only gotten into collecting really collecting trains over like the last 2 years. I mean, I've always had a collection, but I haven't spent big money on it. Lionel says that they're going to be doing a scale Berkshire probably in about 2 years. And when that happens, I definitely want to order a 1225 PR Marquette. Lionel recently did the semi-scale Berkshires, and I just didn't like the semi-scale proportions of it. And I didn't like the proportions of it, so I am holding off on that. It's all right, Sam. I know that you're excited for the to see the new engine run around the layout. Reds fan, I feel sorry for you. I have a couple of buddies who are Reds fans, and well, PR Marquette Productions. If I'm gonna order a Berkshire, I might as well get the #1 Berkshire out there. Why would I get a Southern Berkshire? What kind of animal would do that? As a current Burke owner, those are extremely nice engines, such great sounds and awesome detail. And I can't wait to get when next time Lionel makes it, and I'll probably have whistle steam and maybe a swinging bell. So it'll literally have all of the bells and whistles, which is why I'm holding off on, paying some insane price for a Berkshire on eBay right now, because I know that it's really going to be worth it when next time Lionel releases the Berkshire. Trainman Dan, I think one of Long Island Railroad's G5s are being restored to operating condition by the Strasburg Railroad. So there's actually 2 Long Island Railroad G5s that are in the process of being restored to operating condition right now. One of them is at Strasburg. That's number 39. The Long Island Railroad, the Railroad Museum of Long Island, excuse me, and the Strasburg Railroad have entered into a partnership. The Railroad Museum of Long Island has to raise $1 million by 2024, and Strasburg will cover the rest of the cost for restoration. And then basically, the Strasburg Railroad will own 39 for 50 years, so pretty much the rest of its useful career. And it'll never touch Long Island Railroad rails again. But currently, they're at like $250,000, so they still need to raise $750,000 in the next 3 years in order to get her running. So I think it unfortunately is going to be a long shot. The other one is Long Island Railroad number 35, and this one's a lot more promising. It's being restored by the Oyster Bay Railroad Museum in Oyster Bay here on Long Island. And it's being all done by volunteers, a lot of donations from local industries. They're actually starting to reassemble number 35. Right now, the plan is just for it to be a static live display at the museum, but they have gotten permission from the president of the Long Island Railroad to operate it on Long Island Railroad rails between Ronkonkoma and Green.